Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the iRacing Today radio show for today, which happens to be May the 29th, 2014. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're having a great old day and enjoying, whatever sort of weather happens to be happening in your area. My name is Trevor Cameron. I am the host of the show up here in the booth, virtually speaking on a completely different screen and on a monitor over here, which, I keep looking at, even though I know he can't see me looking at it, is Mr. Chad Dalton. How are you doing tonight, Mr. Chad?
I'm doing great. You didn't do the thing we talked about last night.
No, I did not. But hey, that's because I have a short attention span and an even shorter memory.
Well, can I do it for you?
I suppose you could do that.
Okay, so do it again.
I'm Trevor Cameron.
Boom! Confetti.
Now, I don't think they've updated the Jimmy Johnson spotter pack for a while now. We've been mentioning because they have to add the Lucky Dog and stuff like that. And due to the fact that I'm sure that everybody who is attached to the iRacing service watches and listens to our show, I'm going to make a request to that gentleman who Chad knows the name of, which is...
Oh, you put me on the spot. It's it's Dave Hoffman.
Okay. So, Dave, when you update the spotter pack, I think it is imperative, I beg of you, that during one of the segments where you have damage, you crash into the wall, something that triggers one of those sound packs, that he says something along the lines of, well, looks like he's into the wall. Boom! Confetti!
He should.
That would just make my day.
Yeah, I think it would make a lot of people's days.
We have got a... Man, there's just so much to talk about this week. There's, news going on. There's the whole Indianapolis 500 thing that happened that we've got to talk about, and all the things that happen around there. So we've got our news going on. We're going to talk about the Indianapolis 500. We're going to talk about the Indianapolis 300. If you don't know what that was, then we'll explain that to you. We've got an interesting segment on the show. Normally we talk about a car of the week. And last week we talked about the Spec Racer Ford, or Spec Ford Racer, which would be, no, Spec Racer Ford. It's SRF, yeah. We talked about that, and we weren't very kind, shall we say. We weren't very endearing to that car, based on our experiences. And you guys fed back to us on that. I don't think we've ever had anybody feedback or give us feedback on a car segment that we've done, or a track segment. But boy, you guys responded on that one, so we're going to be kind of addressing that situation a little bit later on. Chad's got some racing experiences, I got some racing experiences, and we've got a rookie tip of the week, which I don't even know what it is, but Chad's put it in here, and it's titled Climbing the Ladder of iRacing. So, thank you very much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Hopefully you're either watching live, watching the archive, or listening to it in your earbuds, getting shot into your brain as you're driving down the road, but not too loud so you can, still hear emergency vehicles going back and forth, because, we want to be safe about this.
I'm hoping that it's not shooting them either, because that would be...
No, it's just bang, right into their brain pans, man. So, so hopefully you guys are enjoying it. We thank you, as always, for joining us, and hope that we add a little bit to your iRacing experience. But we're going to move next into the In the News segment, which is... let me see if I can get this right this week. I did pretty good last week. Which is presented by iRacerstuff.com. iRacerstuff.com is a website dedicated to iRacing.com motorsports simulation. They post things that they find interesting, or that may be useful to the iRacing community. Find them out. No, dang it. Check them out today at iRacerstuff.com. Find them out. Where did that even come from?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I think I need to start reading that.
Oh, come on. I'm not going to get better if I don't practice.
You read it so perfectly last week, and then, you had all that behind you. I thought we were going to move on. I thought we were going to have, success on all of the reading of the script that is so plainly in front of you, but instead we get find them out.
In red. I mean, I got to the very last line. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, it's when I'm talking fast and I'm trying to get the words out, my beard's flapping in the wind, man. I mean, like that adds a wind resistance going on there, and it slows me down, and the tongue gets caught, and it says words that aren't even in the script. That's the only explanation I have.
Well, anyways, for a very extremely limited time now, meaning that you have until May 31, which is pretty much a day now away by the time that we're recording this, and by the time most of you will listen to this, to join iRacing for half off. If you're one of those people out there who has not joined iRacing, first of all, we're looking at you. Second of all, you literally we're looking.
Well, I was going to say I actually did take where I'm staring in the camera, but then I realized that in Google Hangouts, if I'm not making noise, nothing happens. It's still showing you, so I'm staring. Basically, I'm just staring at Chad. He's all like, "I'm looking at you." It's like, "What, Trevor? Look, I'm sorry.
What did I do, Trevor? What did I do?" But anyways, so you've got until May 31 to sign up for a new half-priced account, and this is on all 4 subscription packages, which is either 1 month, 3 month, 1 year, or 2 years. And personal opinion, 2 years is the best deal if you're going to, sign up for a really long time.
Because if you're going to sign up for a really long time, then 1 month is not your best choice.
No, but if you're just wanting to try it out, 1 month is your best choice. But anyways, that expires on Saturday. So and this cannot be combined with any other offer, and is on new accounts only. And you can head to iracing.com/membership for more information.
See, maybe that's why you can read the scripted parts so well, because you take your time. You're kind of, you're methodical, and you make sure
It's
you
also
get all
because
the
I
words
write
out.
the script.
This is true.
Because I participate.
Well, and you're a great participant. I mean, I'm the on-air talent. See, like I'm the guy who just spews words out of his mouth. You see, and then you're the guy in the background just cleaning up the mess I've created. It's a very good symbiotic relationship.
Yep. So now here's my cleanup. Do your next thing and don't screw up.
Yes, sir. All right. Also, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to vote in our latest poll question on our website, which is, have you ever protested someone on the service? Our current poll question expires on Saturday, May the 31st, which also happens to be the last chance that you have for that membership half-price deal that Chad just mentioned. Check that poll out, along with all of our favorite links and other news stories from the show. And you can head on over to iRacingTodayRadio.com for all of that information and most of the poll question that I'm mentioning right now, and links to our YouTube pages and stuff, which is really getting some traction. But we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on. But head on over there.
See how much better you did reading it slower.
Well, it wasn't the fact that it was, but see, I improvise, man. I'm not a script guy. I'm a guy who just bang, 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 just says what's on my mind. So. Okay. It's more fun that way, really. That's what I think.
Sometimes you have to do that. Now, another big thing that has just come out in the last day or so. We, as iRacers, and if you're not yet an iRacer, you also can be included in this, and I'll explain in a minute. But we have an opportunity to win a VIP NASCAR experience. iRacers can support fellow iRacer and NASCAR Sprint Cup Series driver Josh Wise, who I've raced with before on iRacing a couple times. Nice dude. But you can read all about it on the iRacing press page, but I'm going to read just a little bit about it here so that we have it on the show for those of you that may not, be a member yet of iRacing. But Phil Parsons Racing is the team that Josh Wise drives for, and of course, anyone that follows really mostly NASCAR, but probably even just racing in general, knows that Josh Wise has had a lot of support from the online community this year, including getting himself into the NASCAR Sprint Cup All-Star race with all this online help. And you want to say something, I can tell.
I was going to say, and that's, we've talked a lot about people going over the years the other way, where people are using the sim racing and iRacing and stuff like that to get rides in actual race cars, be it Wyatt Gooden or I mean, Ray talked about his dreams of moving in that direction, stuff like that. I don't remember anybody, or to this degree, where somebody has used the community, used the online community to such success. I mean, he got sponsored through Reddit. I mean, like, just he basically got crowdfunded, which at the top and top scale in NASCAR, like, that's amazing that happened.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember anything like that ever happening before. So like, that is so cool. And then the fact that it's continuing to go. I mean, it's really cool that I mean, you see, Keselowski. I mean, he used social media to gain a huge following with that whole Twitter thing that happened, and it's cool to see this kind of evolving in this sort of way that the crowd can fund a NASCAR car. I mean, that's pretty dang cool.
Yes. Now, speaking of the crowd, this time iRacers can get in on the action, and from May 27th, which is 2 days ago when this all started, through June the 30th, 2014, of course, both new and current iRacing subscribers will have the opportunity to support Josh Wise and win a VIP honorary pit crew experience, as mentioned. Now, here are the 3 different ways that you can participate, I guess, or get your name in the drawing. How about that?
That works.
Number 1, all current iRacers can buy the virtual iRacing sprint car, which is similar to the one that Wise used to win 4 championships en route to his NASCAR's top division. 75% of all of the sprint car sales revenue will be heading to Phil Parsons Racing, which I think is also pretty cool.
Right. Now, one key point here that I've seen a lot of confusion about. The sprint car
is not the cup car.
Cup car. I know that they sound similar because they both say sprint and then car. The sprint car is this
much different
dune buggy-ish looking thing that is out of control and is a lot of fun to race once you figure out how to do it, but it is really hard. But it's definitely not the top 3. It's not your Ford, your Chevy, and your Toyota Cup car. It's a very different car. So don't get confused and you think you can buy one of those cars and be participating in this contest. So I just want to point that out.
Exactly. Now, the second way is iRacers can refer, this is for current members, can refer new members to iRacing by having new members enter that current member's email address, which is what I'm going to be doing because I have friends signing up soon, in the referral box when they are in the middle of signing up. And then the third way, of course, goes to the new subscribers, which is they will be able to purchase a 3-month membership for a discounted rate of $12 by utilizing the promotional code PR-JoshWise98 by June 30th, and iRacing will donate 90% of the revenue from all new subscriptions directly to Phil Parsons Racing. I'm assuming using that promo code and not just in general. But anyways, and then of course, I'm probably very soon after June 30th, they will select a winner who gets 2 VIP pit passes to any of the 2014 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race of their choice, where they will be guests of Phil Parsons Racing. Travel and accommodations are not included. Go figure. But anyways, now the other thing to add to this is that iRacing is also sponsoring Josh Wise and the 98 team this weekend at Dover when NASCAR heads there. So if you don't normally watch NASCAR, you might want to check out the 98 car this weekend and look at the old iRacing sticker flying around Dover.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty cool because in the actual the forum thread that they have there, they actually have a picture of what the livery is going to be right there with the old iRacing.com right on the side of the rear quarter panel there, and it actually has the code, that promotional code. But that's pretty cool. I mean, iRacing has been. I don't remember if this is the first time iRacing's been on a Cup car. I know they've been on a nationwide car before, but I don't know if they've been in the top series before.
I don't know, but it's too bad that our show logo didn't make it on there.
Well, I mean, hey, crowdfunding, because I don't have the money to do it, so I don't know, throw a bunch of Dogecoins somewheres and make them say iRacing Today Radio on the side of Josh's car. I don't know how this works. It's something, magic, our logo on a car.
Mm-hmm.
So, It's funny because actually, while you were telling that story, I was actually watching. Anybody who's watching on the video would have seen that it kept switching to me for some reason, even though I was not talking, and that was because my daughter, whose bedroom is directly above me, is doing one of her what's called stimming, where she'll sit there and she'll kind of bang and make noise and stuff. And I was watching little waveforms on my recording program, just bounce, 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 bounce. That's what the head was bobbing. I wasn't agreeing very, heavily with what Chad was saying. It was like, huh, you can actually see those waveforms going. So that's going to be in the show because,
It definitely is now.
yeah, because there it is. I mean, that's such is my life. One of these days, I'll get an actual recording studio. Maybe I'll get some sound foam, but not today. Today is not that day. But anyway, we'll put a link to that forum post in the show notes, and where you can check out that picture of the of Josh Wise's number 98 iRacing.com/Reddit sponsored car, which is really, really freaking cool.
Yep.
So, speaking of things that are really, really freaking cool, iRacing has they are doing some let me rephrase this. They have mentioned some of the stuff that is coming up very shortly, and they have mentioned that they have the data for the NASCAR Nationwide Camaro. So we obviously have the Mustang in there for the Ford. So now they apparently got the data that they need in order to bring the Camaro into the service. So that should be coming soon, hopefully. Donington is apparently going to be the next road track, with Monza following right after that. So that's pretty cool for the road racing side of the house. And the thing that I was particularly excited about is the fact that the rescanned Phoenix Raceway, any NASCAR fans know that as I look to the heavens to make sure that it's not going to fall upon me, that Phoenix was, I guess I was going to say recently, but it's been a few years now. They repaved that surface, and they basically changed a lot about the way that track flows. And we obviously have the older version in iRacing that was scanned before that was done, so they've rescanned it, and they are hoping that is going to be in the Season 3 build, which would be pretty cool because the new track, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of more... makes it more closer to the generic side, because Phoenix was always a very unique looking track, but it's not. It still has a unique shape to it, and regardless, I'd rather it be the actual accurate site or accurate track that's actually in there, as opposed to the the older version. Plus, it has a lot of runoff area as well, which is always good, because that way you're not crashing into walls or grass and stuff. So. So hopefully that'll be out in Season 3, because I'm looking forward to that.
Now, one of the tracks that I'm kind of looking forward to, because I used to race it on old games, that has just been signed by iRacing, is Gateway Motorsports Park. This track was always... it's another one of those unique type tracks. You can just Google it if you don't know what it looks like. And it is one of those tracks that I always kind of enjoyed, and mostly the trucks and the Nationwide car and NASCAR used to go there. So that's been signed, but I don't think that, at least from what I saw, there's any kind of a time frame on that, but I'm sure it'll happen soon. Also, the V8 Supercar is probably the most promising car at the moment that will be released next, now that we've gotten the Dallara 12. So that next V8 Supercar coming in line to go along with the one we already have should be next, but not sure when yet. It will probably miss the Season 3 update, it looks, so, but who knows, never know. And then, of course, Driver Swaps has kind of retaken the seat at the front of the table recently, where apparently it is in alpha testing with iRacing, and that means that it is getting very close.
Yeah, they actually had a post in the forums not that long ago. I actually went to look for it. I couldn't find it, but basically asking for people who were able to participate in the alpha testing. They had a very strict timeline, so I wasn't able to sign up for it because the time they needed people to participate, I was not available, or else I would have signed up for it. But they've that post was there asking for alpha testers, so obviously they're testing it because they're asking people to help with it. So I
Hmm.
know that's a feature that people are really, really, really looking forward to. So hopefully
Oh
that will
yes.
be shortly.
Can you imagine how many 24-hour races are going to go off when that happens?
I know that'll be. I mean, it'll be cool. I mean, it's I know I mentioned way back when we talked about it that it wasn't something that necessarily appealed to me that strongly, but it was something that I can definitely see the appeal for. I mean, and it would be cool. I mean, especially once I get better at road racing and not knowing that I'm going to be the guy who takes off, takes over after hour 6 and then ruins the car.
Yeah. Yeah, that would sink. I think it would be thrilling, like to do a 24 hours of Daytona, for example, and then like, set my alarm for 3 a.m. and wake up and be like, okay, I gotta go sim race. This is gonna be cool. I just think that would be fun. I don't know, because it just adds more realism, which can't really get anywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be definitely pretty cool. So hopefully that will. I mean, alpha testing is, it's alpha testing. It's not in beta yet. It's not complete, but they've apparently got the features in enough that they can start testing with it. So,
Yep. Alpha testing is pretty big, even though it's not. It's better
yeah.
than non-alpha testing.
Wow, that's very bold of you
I
to
was
say.
trying to think of what the step is below alpha, and I couldn't think of it. That's okay.
Omega? I don't know.
Omega. Anyways, so definitely looking forward to driver swaps. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later because that will be cool. But there was something not too big going on last week, wasn't there?
Yeah, something that we talked a lot about last week was the impending Indianapolis 500 iRacing edition. And boy, did that generate some conversation based on everything that happened because of and around and during and after, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. Huh.
I
Where should we start?
I don't know, but all right. I was just thinking. No, okay. It seems to have quieted down. I was going to go see if I could get somebody in my family to cause my daughter to not do that anymore, although she seems to have stopped currently. Uh, where to start is the fact that we had the Indianapolis 500 was scheduled for Friday evening and Saturday afternoon, North America kind of time, and it was one of it. They had released the DW12, only the speedway version, just in time for the race. So a lot of people bought the car just for that purpose. Obviously, it's going to be used later on, the next season on the road courses, oval courses, that sort of thing. So. Uh, people bought the car, but specifically they bought it for this race, and there was a lot of excitement, and a lot of buzz around it, and the car wasn't even completely and totally ready. I mean, we talked about it last week, where the thing bounces like a pinball sometimes. When the physics go crazy on it, it wasn't a feature complete car. Basically, it was like, here is just enough so we can get the Indy 500 in with the new car. And both Chad and I were going to race in it, and we were going to stream it, and we kind of made a big to-do about it, and talked a lot about it last week. So what ended up happening was we all got on, myself, Chad, Andy, and Lewis, all got on TeamSpeak, getting ready to go. Myself and Chad were going to be racing. Andy was going to be doing the engineer slash crew chief sort of role for Chad's race. Lewis was hanging out because we're cool people to hang out with. Uh, and we got ready. We were pumped. We were nervous, but we were ready to go. And we registered for the race, and the count went up. And I can't remember. It was what, 700 some odd
Yeah, it's
when.
between 700 and 800, somewhere in there.
And then all of a sudden, I went to hit join, as did Chad, and at least 700 other people. And then the website went down. Now, that's not something that hasn't happened before with World Tour events. It has, although, as we talked about it at the time, it was something that they had worked their way through, and we haven't seen for the last few World Tour events. I mean, the Daytona 500 went off. they seem to have gotten everything figured out, all their ducks in a row, so to speak. But the website crashed. And then it went through various stages of crash, where it's like, all right, the site just don't load. Now we've got the, for a period of time, it had the, we're deploying a new build message up there.
Yeah.
Then it went into a, hey, sorry, we just crashed. I don't know. Go grab a cup of coffee.
I like the one where it said, if you're a new member, we're sorry that you picked the time to join when we are currently down for maintenance.
If you're a new member trying to sign up right now, boy, did you pick a crappy time to join.
Yeah.
This is not it.
Here's your money back.
As a matter of fact, we can't even take your money right now. And for a period of time, the forums were still up, but the website itself was down. So we were, the forums were just started exploding with people going crazy about the fact it was down. And then they kind of, the biggest problem that we had during this evolution of time was the fact that there was really no official notice of from iRacing saying what's going on. We all knew what happened. Is everybody hit join, the thing crashed, and then they would have to reboot something somewhere in a deep basement in Connecticut and make it all go, or Massachusetts actually. They're in Massachusetts, right?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it could be in a deep, dark basement in Connecticut. Who knows? Maybe that's why it keeps crashing.
I don't know. You guys got lots of storms out there. Maybe they figured if they split up their servers. I don't know. But so we all knew what was going on, but there was no official word, and that made people even angrier. And there's nothing quite like, I mean, we talked about the power of the online community when we're talking about Josh Wise, and there's nothing quite like the power of the community, of an online community scorned, to just witness just happen. I mean, if you've never gone to, say, a game that you, like a downloadable game where you buy it digitally through Origin, Steam, whatever, and you can preload it, and then it has a release time of midnight or something like that, and then you log on and you can't unlock the game because of a glitch or something. You need to experience that at least once in your life if you're even remotely interested in, I don't know, psychoanalyzing people, if you're interested in understanding the dynamics of the way that people act in, I'm going to say, like, pseudo-stress situations, because it's not a stressful situation in the fact that nobody's life's in danger, you're not in danger of losing your house, but you throw that amount of emotion into a compact space and everybody suddenly goes nuts. So it was interesting to watch, I guess, from that perspective. But at the beginning of it, we all thought, well, you know what? Okay, it's down. It's happened before. They'll fix everything. Everything will be great. So Andy, myself, and Chad and Lewis all sat around and we're talking on TeamSpeak and having fun with the situation and talking to people on Twitter, and it turned into a really cool situation where we've been talking about how you guys have been more interactive with us, how you guys have been more, not face-to-face, but I mean more real-time interacting with us during the show taping, during seeing you guys in races, and all the stuff through Twitter and email and stuff like that. And it kind of turned into this really cool, magical moment where we were interacting with more of you guys than ever. Because you guys were all waiting for your race to start too, so we started talking through Twitter and doing all this stuff and whatnot, and it I don't know, it was a really cool experience in that way as we waited for it to happen. Now, while we were tweeting and talking with everybody, I've watched every NASCAR race this season already, and the first bunch of them had rain delays, so we were we'd been joking around about it being in a rain delay because it's a virtual world and the race couldn't start. So it's the closest analogy to that. Analogy is not the word I'm looking for, but there's a word that sounds like analogy that means similar to. So just pretend I said that. And so I thought, it's like, well, you know what? During all those rain delays, everybody was, the big thing was post your rain delay selfie, as and all the people in the trailers and waiting for the rain to stop, all the drivers and crews and stuff would take these selfies and post them on Twitter. So I thought, hey, that'd be a cool idea. So I posted a rain delay selfie for the Indy 500 from iRacing, and that caught on, and a bunch of you guys were posting your photos, whether or not you should have. There was one guy who looked like he was in a bathroom dead. I'm not sure what that was about. There was a guy on a floor.
I
there
was taking
was
a nap.
there was some frightening looking pictures out there, but it was cool because it was like just this spontaneous thing that just kind of happened around everything. So that was really cool.
Hmm.
Um, and I've been talking a bunch about this, and I mean, Chad, you're here as well. I mean, I know there's no script on this one.
Oh, I was thinking about taking another nap. Just let you. No,
Just enjoy your time, man.
that was pretty cool how that Twitter thing did, because you put out that one, of you, and that was, a good picture of you, and then I took the one of me, taking a nap, and then slowly but surely, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, more started coming on with that hashtag, which I think was Rain Daily Selfie, if I'm not mistaken. And so that was pretty cool because it was kind of like, we all knew that the site was down. We all knew we had to wait. We all knew we were bored waiting. We all knew we couldn't go to the forums, so we all went to Twitter. And, there's only so many people on Twitter who are going to be talking like that and about, iRacing, that is. And so we kind of made our own little community, I guess, on Twitter, with iRacing, and it was kind of fun, and so that was pretty neat. But yeah, there were some interesting photos.
Yeah, and it was a cool way for people to just kind of have fun with the situation. I mean, you know what?
Yeah.
Were we all kind of cheesed off that it was going on? Yeah, we were. I mean, I was upset that we weren't starting, and I mean, much like a lot of you, I'd put in a bunch of practice. I had assigned, I had had discussions with my family to make sure that this time is free for me. I mean, it's virtual racing. Yes, you're not leaving your house, but everybody puts in some sort of effort to make sure they're available for that.
Hmm.
I will say on the subject of the pictures, Michael Duell, who we've talked about before, we've raced with him a bunch before. You frightened me, dude. That picture was scary. Yeah, it was. It's like, whoa. So that's what you look. Wow. All right then.
He's from Oklahoma. Don't be hating on Oklahomans. But anyways, now here's where things got sad.
Yes.
The website, the race was supposed to start at 9 o'clock, and basically, I think right before or right at 9 o'clock is when it pretty much crashed for everybody, except for a few people who actually did get to go into the race, and there were only like 3 or 4 cars, but they still got in there, and they started completing laps, and I got a couple of people on Twitter who said that they probably ran 20 laps, and then all of a sudden, they got booted out because iRacing obviously shut it all down. Now, about 10:15, and I'm doing all this on Eastern time, but about an hour and 15-ish minutes after the race was supposed to go off, the website came back up and was suddenly working as if nothing ever happened. So everybody went to wherever they were gonna go race. Not everybody was doing the Indy 500 that night. And Trevor and I went and jumped in the Indy 500 practice sessions, which for me personally, I don't know about Trevor, but for me personally was a good move because I felt like the last 2 or 3 days before the day of the race, I've been mostly focused on qualifying, and then I went into this practice while we were supposedly waiting for the race to fire off, and just did a big race run. Just treated it as if I was in the race. Got my race set up in, went out there, drove as if I was racing, and tried to work with traffic because I didn't have a ton of experience with traffic yet. And then about the time I finished my fuel run, somebody said something about how excuse me, the race was canceled, and then about 1 second later, Andy came on and said that I think it was Kevin Bobbitt who had posted the official thread saying that they canceled the Indy 500. So the initial reaction in my brain was, oh, okay, so they're just going to run it tomorrow then. No, they mean cancel the whole thing. And I was like, oh, well, that kind of stinks.
Yeah, I mean, and the reasoning was basically they knew that something had gone wrong in the infrastructure, and
Mhm.
they weren't sure what it was. So they didn't know a solution. And while it is possible
Mhm.
that they could have tried to run the race the next day and everything would have gone off without a hitch. They didn't want to take the chance of getting everybody's hopes up and having everything fall over again. So
And
they thought the safest way was to just not have it.
because nobody got to race on Friday night, all those people, well, not maybe not all of them, but a lot of them would have been trying on Saturday, and then you bring in the Saturday crowd that was only racing on Saturday, you double the amount of people that are going to join. So yeah,
Yeah,
it was going to fail.
yeah. So it was actually probably more likely to, to fall over on
Yeah.
Saturday than on Friday.
So
So
while on one hand I was disappointed because obviously I wanted to race Indianapolis 500, on the other hand I completely and totally understand why they did what they did, and I even kind of think that it was the right move from a business standpoint. Maybe I don't know.
true, and um, the other side of the coin of that is the fact that they've done a bunch of these World Tour events where they've had large server loads all of a sudden, and they've done a lot of changes over the years. I mean, when they first tried to do these things, they were a disaster. I mean, they just
Hmm.
outright just it didn't work.
Nope.
And they've done a lot of work over the years, and everything has started to become smoother. So the prevailing thought in the community, which went crazy over this whole situation. Trust me, if you want to see so many different varying opinions of this, you should go through some of those threads from people who are saying, like Chad was saying, it sucks. I understand why you did it. To you are the devil. We hate you.
Give us
Blah
our
blah
money
blah
back.
blah. Yeah.
We're
You know,
protesting iRacing.
oh yeah, I mean, I saw somebody in there had, man, you get the most interesting people come out of the woodwork in these sort of situations. Like I
Yep.
said, I mean, you get the armchair lawyers out there. There's somebody who'd written a letter about a class action lawsuit. I
Hmm.
mean, shake your head, people. But anyway, um, but the prevailing thought that I saw was, hey, you guys knew this was going to happen. You guys have been working on this. How were you not ready? And again, I mean, it's software, it's computer stuff. Yeah, crap happens, and I can understand that. But that was the main thought of people was, why weren't you ready for this? I mean, holy crap, dudes! Like that was their main thought. So, and while I was disappointed, I wanted to do it. I'd set aside the time. I'd done the practice, all that good stuff. It was kind of the main disappointment for me was the show. Because I've really gotten into the streaming thing, and it really tied into our show that we'd done just the night before, and it kind of had a good flow to it. So I was really disappointed for you guys because I was really hoping to, make something special to add into the show, kind of thing, with Chad doing his race, me doing my race. Um, I thought it was something that could really add to the experience, I guess. So I was really disappointed from that point of view. Was kind of my first thought, really, when this all got canceled.
Yeah, and I was kind of the same way, especially with me. It's a little bit different than Trevor because that was my first stream, and so I was kind of like all excited from a this is the first standpoint, and not like, oh yeah, I've done a bunch of streams, this will be great, so and I made the decision to stream on Wednesday. The race was Friday. So I basically, when I got home from work, both Wednesday and Thursday, and even Friday, spent like an hour or two, preparing the stream. And I mean, I was still practicing for the race, but I was mostly getting the stream ready. And then, get all ready to go. And then, oh yeah, we're not racing. So, well, fudge. There goes my stream. And
Yeah, and that's I was gonna say, and that's the other good point too, is the fact that I mean, I probably put more time into this than I think anything else I've done because between running practice laps, me and you got on one night and just were working through the streaming stuff. Like there was a lot of effort put into creating a show, basically.
yeah, and even Andy, was working on things. He was doing things like with engineering stuff, and I think it was a tweet. He put out saying something like, you better not crash this week, iRacing. This is a big week, and stuff like that, because all of us on the team, but I think especially me, you, and Andy, were excited about this Indy 500 because it kind of went from oh yeah, the Indy 500's next week. Maybe we should all race it. Oh, that's funny. And then, oh wow, we're actually doing this. Oh, okay. So like, what's going on in practice? How about Wednesday? Yeah, that Wednesday works. Okay, so we're all on practicing, and we were all doing this as like a team type deal, even though we were going to be in different rooms and stuff. But we kept doing all the qualifying and everything and preparing, and like, I mean, I did not spend hours on hours, preparing for this, but it's the thing that was, I guess, disappointing was the excitement build up within our team, like with Trevor and Andy and even Lewis and me. That kind of made me more interested in it more than I already was because I was doing something new. I mean, as I told some of the listeners, unless we have anybody who's new that don't know this, listening this week, I have never driven the Indy car per se, especially at Indianapolis. I had raced it at Kansas and at Michigan, but they were two fun races that really didn't matter. It was fixed setup. It was not official, nothing. So this was my first official IndyCar race. So I had a lot of excitement on that. Then you top on that my whole team's doing it, basically. Then you top on that I'm streaming it. So yeah, there was a lot of excitement around that.
Yeah. So that's where we were at that point in time. Now we'll kind of get to the way the rest of the evening went to in a second, but fast forward a couple days later, and when they started when iRacing was addressing, basically explaining, here's what we think went wrong, we don't know exactly, we have to fix some stuff, and then Tony Gardner, who is Grand Poobah of iRacing, chimed in on the situation.
Wow, I've never heard him referred that way.
And he put a post in there, and after they had made a gesture of goodwill, which, in my opinion, was not necessary. Appreciated, but unnecessary. And that was the fact that anybody who had purchased the DW12 through Saturday, May 24th, got a $6 credit back, basically like 50% of their price back. Now, just about anybody who bought it obviously had some sort of one of the discounts going, so they even paid less than that, so it's even more than that. So even though you still have the car and it will be used in future, season 3 on, they basically said, hey, you know what, we realize a lot of people you bought it just for this race. That did not happen, so here's $6 back as kind of a sorry we messed up, we'll try to do better kind of gesture. So again, did not have to do that. I mean, I was not expecting that. There were people in there demanding it, a complete refund and stuff like that, which, keeping in mind, we are a fan podcast and we are not affiliated with iRacing. We are just two guys who happen to enjoy this and happen to enjoy talking into microphones about it. So these are just my opinions. But I think the people going on there and demanding a refund based on the circumstances was ridiculous. I mean, and some of the language and some of the words that were used and some of the moaning and whining and stuff, you know what, we were all ticked off, but some of it was just stupid. I mean, that's just me talking. But anyway, so Tony went on. There's a forum post titled Member Credit for DW12, an update on a potential new 500. Basically goes on, I won't read the whole thing, basically says we had some issues on Friday, we had to cancel the races, we're sorry, we know you're disappointed, we're giving you a $6 credit, and then he goes on and says, as far as scheduling a new race, as I alluded to, this is Tony speaking, as I alluded to in another post, we have some projects that we have been working on to reduce the chance of something like this happening in the future. Longer term, a redesign is happening with one of the main purposes, if not the main purpose, to have the most stable service possible. Anyway, we want to wait until we roll this new code out, which we should do in the coming weeks, and then we can reschedule a new race. The goal is certainly before the normal Week 13 session ends toward the end of July. We may even decide to do a fun race sooner rather than later, followed by an official race. We'll keep you posted. So there is, they want to do a redo on the Indy 500, even though obviously the timing isn't exactly the same anymore. But they want to make sure they roll out this new code that they think is going to increase the stability and work around this issue in the moving forward in the future. So that's where things stand as far as I know. I haven't gone through all 8 pages of that forum thread. I don't know if he's updated on there, but as far as I know, we're just kind of in a holding pattern. Once they roll out new code, which they obviously haven't, then we'll get word on a new version of the Indy 500, so everybody can go out there and and participate again.
Yeah. My only, I mean, I think I ended up paying like either $831 or $853 for the IndyCar. So I got, in the end, with the $6 credit, I only spent like $2 on that car,
Yep.
which is kind of nice. But my only issue with giving, and I understand why they did it, with giving people credits is it's almost as if they gave the demanders what they wanted, essentially, which I know is good, but at the same time, it could be bad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we've talked about crowdsourcing and the power community several times. It's kind of the theme of this week's show, but there's a downside to that too.
Yeah, with
There's the
certain
good
people.
side. Yeah, I mean, there's the good side where you have people like Josh getting sponsorship to race NASCAR and to do what he loves, and then there's the downside where people all of a sudden realize, if we bitch and moan enough, then people will give
Yep.
us what we want, and well, you don't want that either.
Nope. But anyways, but that from our standpoint, I was not expecting it. I actually didn't even think, that it was going to happen. And then I signed on to Twitter one afternoon, and somebody was like, "Ooh, iRacing credits," but I just thought, that somebody gave them iRacing credits. And then I logged in later that day, and it was like, "Oh, you have $6," and I'm like, "Okay,
Okay.
thank you." So anyways, I was not expecting that. Did not even want it. I'll take it, but it was not something that I was like, "Hey, money, 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 money." But I do
You
think
know,
that was a pretty cool gesture, though.
yeah, I mean, I guess they kind of probably felt that they had to. Um, I almost kind of wish that they set up a third option in that VIP NASCAR experience that we talked about with Josh, where buying the sprint car, purchasing new memberships and stuff, and revenue would go to Phil Parsons Racing. I almost wish they had an option where, hey, if you have credits, you can donate them,
Yeah,
because that's probably what I would do with them. I mean, you know what? I'll keep them. I'll use them for whatever the next piece of content is, because I mean, they're coming up with new content all the time, obviously, as we discuss uh, constantly. But for now, I'd rather say, hey, you know what? Take my $6, give it to Phil Parsons Racing, and help Josh out with the race team. I'd feel better inside if I could just do that.
yeah, I agree. Now, one thing that I also want to say in regards to this big meltdown, and then we can move on. iRacing, I know that they feel really bad about what happened with the site crashing, but I can promise that not everybody that's listening, but some of the people who in the forums were very disgusted with it all. iRacing worked very, very, very hard to get the Speedway version of this car out by May 19th so that we could all have the new car for the Indy 500. So for those of you that think iRacing is a horrible service and that they don't care about their people, they rushed that car to get it out by May 19th so that we could have it for the Indy 500. So this is not a thing where they were like, "Hey, here's a brand new car, buy it," and then we're gonna crash the website so that we take all your money and run away and you can't have it back. Like
Yeah.
they worked very hard to get this car there, and then they were just as mad at themselves, I guess, as anybody of us could be, that it crashed. I mean, they did not sit there and say, "Okay, and hit the crash button and rack up the money."
It's like, oh
So
yeah, we got at least 700 people at $12
yep,
a pop, man. Woohoo! We're
woo,
golden dough now.
having a party at Tony's house tomorrow. So I promise you that they did not want to see this happen, and then they may have even thought, that they had most of this problem, wiped out. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
Yep. So now moving on, as when last we left you, Chad and Trevor were sitting there forlorn and disappointed with the situation, not unable to race in their Indy 500. And Andy and Lewis were sitting there talking to us, saying, "It's okay, you know."
There, little
And
Trevor.
now, at this point in time, the website had come back up
Yep.
because the Indy 500 wasn't there as an
Mhm.
option anymore, but the site was back up and running, so you could do your normal racing and whatnot. And then enter into the picture. I don't want to say friend of the show, but definitely listener of the show and guy I've interacted with Twitter on a bunch and helped me with some of my streaming stuff, Kevin O'Keefe, otherwise known as Rutgers Kev on Twitter and YouTube. Does a lot of streaming of races and whatnot. He came into the picture and said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to put up an Indy 300. Put up a hosted room." Um, which was password, and I'm still unsure as to how we got that password. I don't know where that came from.
I think Andy got it because Andy was the one who said it, but I don't know if it was on like a tweet or a forum post or what.
Yeah, I don't know. So here's our weekly call out Andy segment. Andy, what happened?
Where'd you get the password?
So we jumped into that race, and we both had our streams set up anyway. So it's like, you know what? It's not the Indy 500, but we've practiced for this. We've got the Indy cars ready. We've got the setups. We've got the Andy and sitting there on top of the pit box, ready to do race engineering for Chad. So you know what? We'll stream this instead. A consolation prize. We're ready anyway. So we jumped into there. Did some practice. I think I took the last pit stall, because it was
Hmm.
41 out of 43 when Chad jumped in. He got in, then I jumped in, and so I guess I must have been the last man in. And we got ready for that race instead. And we have being a hosted race. Obviously, it didn't take into account our qualifying efforts earlier on in the week. So we got to requalify for that race. I qualified fairly towards the back because I still hadn't figured out my line for qualifying, even though I'd had people explain it to me. I just couldn't execute upon it. And Chad goes out and qualified. And where'd you end up, Chad?
Oh, I don't know, somewhere towards the front. Um, no, but one thing that we do need to note about this is in the Indy 500 official qualifying, it was your 4 lap average. You cannot do that in hosted rooms. So
Right.
knowing that when I went out to do my 4 laps of qualifying, because he set it up the same way, one of my first mock Q runs of the week that I had run was I did the 4 laps, and then I took those 4 laps and whatever they were, and I averaged them out. But the fastest lap that I ran on those 4 laps was the fourth one, and it was a 39:62, which I mean I was pretty pleased with. But again, that was mock, and that was like on Wednesday or something. So knowing that before I went out to make my run, I kind of decided, okay, I don't need an average. All I need is that last lap. And so the first 3 laps, I was like, okay, let's just run good laps. They don't have to be awesome. If I screw up, it's okay. But everything on those 3 laps needs to set up for the fourth lap because that'll be my fastest because the fuel is really low then and your tires are, ready to go and everything. So I literally just set myself up for lap 4, and that worked out very well because I ran my fastest individual lap of the entire week in driving the IndyCar, which was a 39:56, and that somehow, I still don't know how, got me the pole for this race. So I went from, hey, I'm a rookie, I don't know what I'm doing in the IndyCar, to I need help, Andy, come help me. Yay, help. There's help. Okay, now I'm learning. I'm getting better at this car. I know what I'm not supposed to do. I'm learning what I am supposed to do. To, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on the pole with a bunch of people who probably know way more about this car than I do. And if I screw up and spin the tires and wreck all of them, I'm just probably going to quit.
It's like, I'll just quit iRacing. It's like, all right, sorry, iRacing. Please just get rid of my membership. Just delete the account. I'm gone.
Pretend like I never was there. So yeah, that thought went through my head as soon as I realized I was going to be on the pole. Now, I was also slightly excited because it was like, hey, I'm a rookie. I'm not supposed to do that, but I did. Um, but how'd that race go for you, Trevor?
Well, here's where we kind of we went from through the roller coaster of emotions and the fact that you know, get excited, gonna do the Indy 500. Oh wait, it's delayed. Okay, so now I'm sad, and now okay, wait, we're having a great time with the fans, so this is a good time. Oh wait, the race is canceled completely. To all right, we're gonna do this stream anyway with the Indy 300 with Kevin. That's great. To Trevor ends up on
Lap
what
one
was
and a
it?
fourth.
No, I think I made it through the first lap anyway, and then I ended up on I think the second lap, creaming the short chute, coming out of one like I had done so many times in practice, and had practiced not doing that. I just stupid mistake. I had gotten close to the guy ahead of me, took the air off my front wing. I had experienced that before. I knew it happened. Got tight and plowed the wall. I think I hit one or two other cars as I came back across, even though I tried to keep it on the wall to keep it out of the way. But these cars, as we mentioned, the physics are kind of not exactly right. So I kind of, instead of sucking up to the wall, I kind of bounced off of it. um, and I was done for the day. And then all of a sudden, so now Trevor's all sad. And it's like, wait, okay. So I created a stream. We did all this stuff. And I wiped myself out on lap 2 of the bloody race, and everything sucks again.
Oh, there,
And
little Trevor.
see, and then I think it was Jason Palmer on the forums had mentioned, that it was like, man, that really, sucks. He said your body language said it all. Because I mean, I had the stream still going, the webcam was on, and I just deflated.
Yep. And you could
I
see it
didn't
too.
see it.
Yeah, I even saw it because the night after this race was over with, I watched my stream just to see how it looked, and then I also went and watched yours. And because I didn't know what had happened, I heard you wreck, but I was way away from you, so I didn't see it or
Hmm.
anything. And which is one of the things I love about iRacing. But you could tell, like, it's so clear if you go watch your stream. And like, there's even people that commented on your YouTube channel about it. Like, you can just see how you're kind of like just like
Yeah.
dejected.
Well, I mean, it was a, I mean, it was an emotional night, so to speak, with, like I said, so many highs and lows, and then just to reach that point of just ultimate low, and of course, and at that point in time, because much like you at the front of the pack, in front of all those people, like I wasn't, in the very rear, like I was in the middle of a bunch of cars, like my adrenaline was flowing because I didn't want to make that mistake. Like I was, like at peak, like eyes wide open, let's do this kind of thing, and then all of a sudden just have that all just taken away, the rug just go yoink. It's like, nah, you ain't doing this, son.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was, I was in a dark place at that point in time.
But it
But
gets better.
then, but then, um, I dare say, then something magical happened in the fact of what we as a team ended up creating. So why don't you take the lead on this one there, Chad?
Yeah, well, I can take the part of the driving. You can do the rest of it because I didn't get to participate in that for the most part. Obviously, I was doing my stream, and I was like, and I mean, I'm sure we'll provide a link to my stream in the link, or in the link, in the show notes. But you'll see if you haven't watched it, and if you have, that right away I'm explaining what happened, or what was going on, and then I'm talking about how I'm new to this, and Andy's going to be kind of spotting, but mostly more so than spotting, he's going to be engineering and kind of helping me out with understanding this because he's more of an IndyCar person than I am, and I understand the IndyCar. I'm not a dumbbell when it comes to it, but I wanted somebody to help me. Now I went into this race because of the fact that we did not have the 500. One of the things that you guys will likely discover about me in my streams is that I tend to be very focused and I don't talk a whole lot. And not that talking a whole lot is bad, Trevor, but
It's what I do, man. That's what I love podcasting.
I know. But I really do focus, and like I mean, like Trevor's mentioned it before. I'll tell him like, shut up, I got to focus, or something like that. And even though this was a hosted room and way less, 200 miles less, I still treated it as if it was the real 500 that I was, signing on iRacing to do. So, but I wasn't completely focused as I can be. I still talked a little bit because, I mean, after lap 2, it was me and Trevor racing, Lewis mostly helping Trevor, Andy mostly helping me, and then all of a sudden it came this thing 2 laps into the race where now it's Andy helping me, Lewis helping me, and Trevor just watching me. And so it was like, okay, now I need to be more interactive because we're all kind of just doing this together now. And so I talked a little bit more, but one of the things that I still remained was very focused and treating it as if it was a real deal. And I there were 2 things that I was scared to death about with doing this race, whether it was the Indy 500 or what ended up happening in the 300. The first thing is I was scared to death about restarts and spinning the tires and wrecking either just myself or 5 people. Like, I did not want to have anything to do with that. The second thing I was scared to death was doing exactly what Trevor did, which was overshooting turn 1 or getting the air knocked off of me or something and plowing the outside wall, because I had done that a couple times too in practices. So those are the 2 things that I was petrified of doing. And so I did my absolute best job on all those things, especially the restarts, because that was so easy to do, spin your tires on restarts. And I believe that would have dominated each Indy 500 for the record, people spinning out on restarts. Yeah. But the race was going really well for me. Like, I started on the pole. I ran kind of in the top 2 or 3. We had a fair amount of cautions to begin, but then once we kind of got into, I guess, a rhythm, we actually had a very long green flag run. But now the interesting thing, and this is where Trevor can kind of take back over, is that my stream was going, and I didn't know how many people were going to watch, and I don't see that when I'm racing because I'm in a full screen, so to speak, of iRacing, and so I can't see, how many people are watching, if my stream even is still working. So like I was having Lewis check it sometime, just to make sure, because that was my first real big stream. But there was a part of the race where, I don't know, it couldn't have been too terribly long into it. I can't remember. Where I think Andy suggested something like, go make a tweet or a forum post, Trevor, about the stream and let's get people to watch it. And then what happened?
Well, and then we had, and then a bunch of people started, with the viewing of the stream started going up. And then we kind of made, as at the beginning of the race, like Chad was saying, it was kind of Chad was racing, we were kind of talking on TeamSpeak a little bit, and Andy was giving little bits of information and whatnot. And the way that the stream was set up, you could hear the TeamSpeak. You could hear everything that was going on, basically. Like, you could hear us as if we were in-car radio kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then as we kind of transitioned to that stage of the race, we kind of turned into, this is going to sound silly, but we turned into a race team where Chad was, the only feedback Chad was giving was just stuff he needed to know about his car. And Andy had just gone straight completely into crew chief mode, where he was just, giving him advice. It's like, okay, remember, to set your weight jacker for this, and okay, you're in traffic now, so we got this many laps left to pit, and just took over that role completely. Like, he wasn't just a guy hanging out on TeamSpeak talking to a bunch of guys. He became the race engineer.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say, and then you can continue, he was also telling me when not to pit or to pit, which is something that I've never really had before in iRacing. I've had friends spot for me and stuff, but most of the time it's been my decision, oh, I'm going to pit this time, or I wait and see what the leaders do, or I decide not to pit. But he was telling me there were like 3 or 4 straight cautions where, in my mind, I probably would have pitted. But he was like, we're staying out here. I'm like, okay. I trust you.
And I think that was kind of when the transition happened was when you kind of went over to just straight driver, like you said. I mean, it normally, I mean, 99% of the time that we're doing racing, we're the drive, we're everything. We're just
Yeah.
doing it. Like you said, we've had people spot and stuff like that. But you kind of transitioned over to straight. I'm just going to drive this race car the best I can. I have people talk in my ear. I will just listen to what they say, and that's it. Uh, so Andy was doing the race engineering stuff, and it was stuff that I don't know. I'm like, if I was behind the race, the wheel, I wouldn't have been able to. Like, I didn't know. Like, I mean, he was giving you every bit of information from, okay, now you're behind the car, you might want to move the wake tracker to here. Okay, what's you have a good setting for in traffic. Okay, let's make a note of that so we can go back to that, and telling you to reset everything when you went into your pits, and like it was listening to a real race broadcast kind of thing.
Hmm.
And then Lewis would chime in with just little bits of information about, when the leader was pitting, under green, or, this car is this far ahead of you, or just little bits in there. And then I was just chiming in, I was staying as quiet as I could, just like Lewis, to allow Andy and Chad to do most of it. And Lewis would chime in with little bits in, and, then I'd look around the track and see, if there was something that was pertinent. I would just quick little blurts of information, and just, and I started acting like a team owner. I mean, like, I was just every now and again, it's like, great job on that pit stop, Chad, and that was it. Just little things like that. And the stream, we're listening to the people going through Twitter. Obviously, Chad couldn't because he was driving a race car.
Yeah.
um,
Don't tweet and drive.
I'm going through, and I'm paying attention to Twitter and listening to people there and interacting with what's going on over there, and everybody was having such a good time. Like, they were watching this as if it was a real broadcast, and they were so appreciative of this, what we created. Like, we created a show, just through naturally doing what we thought was best in all of our individual roles, and it just became this really, really cool thing, and everybody just loved it. It was, and in listening back to it, it came across like a TV broadcast. If you were watching a race and your broadcast was just the in-car of your driver and his radio, that's what this became. And the response we got on that was amazing and phenomenal.
Hmm. It was.
So, uh, and so anyway, as the race went on, I guess now I've explained what happened behind the scenes. And
Go
I'm
back to the driving part.
tweeting out and putting forum posts and getting people over there, and like I said, acting like the team owner while Andy was crew chief and you were driving. So back to the racing.
Yeah, like I said, there was a green flag run that we had. I don't remember when it was, but it was a decent ways into the race. It was long enough that we had to make a green flag pit stop, which I had actually practiced quite a few different times because I'm one of those people who, if it's something that I've never done, which the IndyCar was something I've never done, then I'm going to practice everything that I can think of that might happen, even if it never happened. So, like, even if there was never a green flag pit stop, at least I practice it and I know what it's like. I may not be an expert at it, but I know what it's like. I know what to expect. So we had the green flag pit stop, and when I was coming around, Andy was doing the thing. Okay, we're going to pit this time, and so in my head, one of the other things he said that it's not that I'd forgotten about it because I'm sure I would have remembered it, but it may not have been until like 50 feet to 500 feet going down pit road. But he reminded me on the back straight away saying, don't forget your pit road speed limiter button. And like when he said that, I was like, oh yeah, I don't have to look at pretty green lights. I can hit a button. And so, but I mean, if I would have thought about that, I don't know, because obviously it doesn't matter. But, if I would have thought about that, it probably wouldn't have been until I was like halfway down pit road. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I should have hit the button. And so, like, him reminding me about that, was really cool and helpful. But, I got onto pit road well. I could have done it a little bit faster. I slowed down too much, but that's okay. And, got down through and got the thing, all the tires changed and the fuel, and then got back on the track. And the hardest part about a green flag pit stop at Indy, in my opinion, is the part where you exit pit road and you go around the access roads and then you go to the back straightaway. Because some of those roads are really bumpy. And as Andy screamed about 4 billion times in the stream, cold tires, cold tires, cold tires, you can spin out very easily. So, which, I mean, I'm not complaining. That was good for him to tell me that. But that was the part I was most worried about, the green flag pit stop, and I got through it pretty well, all things considering. And then got back out on the track, and this part of the race is where I really felt like that I was starting to click in the IndyCar, because I've mentioned before, but I don't know how often on this show, that I am a rhythm driver. And even at tracks or with cars that you don't get into a rhythm with, I find a way to get into a rhythm with them for me. And the Indy car at Indy is really not terribly difficult to drive, per se, but it is something that I had never done, but I started getting into a rhythm. Like, I started understanding it more. I started grasping weight jacker settings. I even got to a point where I started doing those before Andy told me something, because I was like, oh yeah, I got to do this because it's going to help me in traffic, or it's going to help me in clean air. And I started being proactive, I guess is a good word, in my mind about how things worked. And that's when I started, the point in the race, started getting really good at it. And I started getting faster, I think. I was already running in the top 5 most of the race, but now I started like catching people who had, gotten away from me on the pit stops and stuff. And I was starting to really carry, more confidence and momentum into the latter part of the race. And then we had a caution, which I don't remember. I think it was just a lap car spun out or something, trying to get out of the way. And on the pit stop stuff was kind of weird for this particular caution, because the leaders had gone way ahead of the pace car and were not letting the pace car pass them back, which is what they should have done. So I ended up being the quote leader behind the pace car, because I stayed there and I was told to by the sim. And then I ended up pitting because pit road was open. Well, then they had to stay out a lap, and then they came back around, and then they pitted. So I ended up coming out in second place, because another car had stayed out, I guess, on a different pit cycle. And within, a lap or two, basically went and passed him, and suddenly was leading, in an Indy car at Indianapolis. And there was kind of a point where in my head I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be doing this, but I'm really glad I am. And and I only led like 4 laps, but still, it was like one of the coolest things ever. It was like, wow, I'm in clean air. I actually got here on my own, not just because everybody wrecked out. So, but then, the whole high-low thing of the night returned, where I was really high because I was leading the race, and then like not even one lap later, not even half of the front straightaway later, went to the really low part. The guy in second got a run on me and was passing me down the front straightaway, and I obviously was going to let him go because there's still like 45 laps to go, I think. And there's no point in racing. Although I was pretty good at holding the outside line. I mean, you have to admit that.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, give me that, Trevor.
Oh, definitely. I mean, some of the side-by-side stuff, I mean, man, anytime I got side-by-side with anybody, like, it's like, all right, and would it save time if I just crashed into the wall now?
So, but I decided I was going to let him go. Well, I slowed down extra, and the guy that had stayed out, who was in third, I could tell right away when I went into turn 1, because I'm a very observant driver. I see things even before they happen, and I'm not like a futuristic person. I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying, like, I can tell when something's going to happen based on what the other driver's doing and based on experience. And the way that he entered turn 1 and that like millisecond of time, I was like, there's no way he's making that turn. Like, that just went through my head. And then sure enough, about 1 second later, he got really close to me, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm about to wreck. And then about another second later, I get hit in the side and then went to the outside wall, and which I got stuck in. I could not get the stupid car off the wall, whereas Trevor had no issues with that. I got
I don't
stuck in
know.
it.
I wish I'd gotten stuck in the wall like it happened to me.
I know, but and then of course finally got the car off. The caution came out. I don't really know why. I guess somebody else wrecked because all I did was just go into the wall. I never actually spun out. And my car was destroyed, but I drove it back to pit road and then found out the bad news, which was too much damage. We are done.
Hmm.
Sad face.
True. But
But before all that, and even with the wreck, that was a lot of fun. And if they do reschedule this Indy 500, like they seem to be insinuating that they are, I will definitely try my best to be there because that was a very fun experience. It was fun to be competitive, to lead some, to not screw up any restarts, to not wreck myself because that's what I was petrified about, and to actually, do the whole race pretty successfully. And it kind of even made me, want to see what the finish would have been like. Because I mean, who knows where I would have been? I could have had a shot at it, but that got ended very quickly.
yeah, but I mean, like I said, I mean, it didn't quite have the fairy tale ending that we'd kind of hoped, but in the end, I mean, that ended up being, I think, in my opinion, one of the, like you said, one of the best experiences you've had racing. I know Andy had an awesome time doing it. I had a great time just being part of it, and I know Lewis did too, and people who were watching the stream and participating through Twitter and stuff like that, they had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's one of those things where it kind of the way everything started kind of sucked, but in the end, I think we ended up making the best of it and then some.
Yeah.
And having an awesome time. So that was definitely one of the coolest experiences I think I've ever had on iRacing. Just the community, the feeling, the stream, everything that happened. It was one of the best experiences and coolest experiences and neatest nights that I've had as being part of the service.
And I totally agree. And I mean, I had a ton of fun driving, and then afterwards, like all I kept hearing you say was all these tweets and things. I went back and looked at all that stuff, and it was neat to see, everybody talking about it. And that video itself, the recorded of the stream, has almost 400 views now, which is like more than by a lot than any of my other videos. So I was like, well, that was pretty successful.
Yep.
So that was definitely, like you kind of just said, the whole night kind of stunk, but that part made it definitely one of the best nights on iRacing.
Yep. So, the old lemons in the lemonade situation, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the last we'll talk about the Indy 500 until it gets rescheduled, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it a lot over the last 2 weeks, but I think it's all been pretty good information, hopefully entertaining, and hopefully we've given you guys some entertainment in this iRacing world. So, moving on to what would typically be our Car of the Week segment. Last week we talked about the Spec Racer Ford, and I mentioned how much I hated that car. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, you guys responded and said, hey, you know what? And you were all very kind about it. There was no, what are you doing, you jerk? That's my favorite car. Like it was a lot of, you might want to revisit the car. And you were kind of harsh on it. I mean, don't you think that, you might give it a better chance? And but it was definitely the most feedback we've ever gotten on one particular segment on the show, I think, to date.
Yep.
So there are people out there who love this car, and they wanted to let us know that they love this car. So Chad and I decided to, because of that, we committed to an evening this week, which happened to be last night, and we both went out and drove the car based on your guys' feedback. And so we went into official practice. They're at what used to be Mosport. It's called Canadian Tire Motorsports Park now or something. Anyway, so that's where it was. So, and I'd actually taken it out on before that in an offline. I'd taken it at Lime Rock as well, just because it's a track that I'm familiar with. So but we went and did some online practicing there, and ironically ran into a fan of the show, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
um, and so we gave it a shot, and we raced, drove it around, and of course Chad was faster than me because he's always faster than me. We could go up there and we could race rocks, and he'd somehow have his rock go faster than mine. But
Rocks. We should race rocks. I challenge you to a race rock. Race of rocks.
so
We can stream it too.
I will say, um, in our interest in providing you with the most current and useful information in the iRacing experience, sometimes mistakes are made, and I'm a big enough person to admit when I have made an error in judgment. And I will say that the SRF is definitely not the car that I remember from my times trying to race it. I'm still not good at it, mind you, but then again, what road car am I good at? But I mean, I was actually completing laps, and it is way easier to drive than it was before. I don't know if it's because of just updates in the sim, updates on the car itself, or more likely the new tire model itself that's on it. But I actually had some fun. I mean, you and I were actually out there, nose to tail a few times, and racing around each other, and I had a lot of fun in that car. I mean, it's probably not going to be my road car of choice moving forward in order to try to get more road content on the show here by getting better experiences. But I had fun, and I mean I was putting down laps that were only, 6 to 8 seconds slower than the fastest guys in the room, which for me is pretty good, considering going in cold with a car that I hadn't driven in like 2 years. So.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you were having a fair bit of fun with it as well.
Yeah, I was only 4 seconds slower, so I was better.
Yes, it's been established.
Um, yeah, the only times, when did we ever race by each other? The only thing I remember doing is every time we got near each other, either I would spin out or you would spin out or we'd spin out simultaneously.
Well, remember we went through that one corner 3 wide?
Oh, yeah, that was pretty cool. Trevor and I discovered that we were experts already at the car because I came out of, I don't remember what turn that was, but I came out of the turn on the right and you came out of the turn on the left, and I specifically told you, you can come over and either get behind me or get in front of me so we can let this guy go. Well, then somehow at that exact moment, it's like the water's parted, and that guy was like, oh, I'll just go up the middle. So then all of a sudden, here we are going down that big long straightaway, 3 wide, and I was like, yay, we're 3 wide. And then, of course, as soon as he got cleared, I drove from the far right lane all the way to the left lane to block Trevor, to have fun. And but yes, the car is definitely, I guess, more racy or more drivable or things, those kind of words.
Definitely more drivable than I remember from my time in the past. But yeah, we went through there 3 wide, and then you were tucked, you got in front of me, and I was right behind you, and we went into the corner like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, it's like, we're way too close to each other. This isn't going to end well. But,
Yeah.
So.
And I remember one time when a guy was behind me, and I was trying to slow down and let him go around me because I didn't want to hold him up because I was just out there for fun, and then he started drafting me, and like I understand why, but I was like, no, you don't want to draft me, you want to pass me, you want to get around me as quickly as possible. Don't draft, dude, what are you doing? Quit drafting me. Like, he drafted me the whole straightaway. I was like, pass me. But yes, the car was definitely more fun. The thing I like about it still is the mirrors. And that's the first time I've officially driven that car on my triple screen setup. And so those 2 mirrors they're kind of cool, actually, the way that they're positioned on a triple screen setup. And I don't know, like, it's hard to explain this, but they, like, I kind of wish I had that kind of mirror on a lot of the cars that I race because they're in a better position to see things, beside you or behind you, than some of the mirrors on some of the cars are, at least when it comes to triple screen setup. So, which I know we're not here to discuss mirrors, but the car itself is definitely a lot better than I remember. And like, I'm kind of like Trevor, where I don't know if I'll make it my car of choice, but I may jump in at random times, and if it's a track that I'm comfortable enough at, because there's some road course tracks that I'm pretty comfortable at. I'm not good at them, but I'm comfortable at them. That I may jump in the car and get in, and, enough practice and do a race even just to do one.
Yeah. So it's yeah, it was definitely it was a cool experience to go out there and race around like that. So, to fans of the SRF, we apologize. We besmirched your car without the knowledge that it had improved greatly. Our comments were not meant in anger or hatred. We have we retract what we said. It is not a steaming pile of crap. It is a
Wow,
pretty
who
fun
said
car.
that? Because I know it wasn't me.
Well, I may have inferred that.
And one other thing that we're going to try to do is we're going to try to pick the car of the week each week earlier than we normally do, and we're going to try to run some laps in it, unless it's a car that we've recently driven, so that we don't have this problem again.
Yes, most definitely. So live and learn. We're big enough to learn from our mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So, in what is already a pretty long episode already here, let's just do a quick little mention on our experiences. Mine was pretty limited, other than obviously the iRacing, the Indy 500. But you had some other races go on there, Chad. So why don't you give us a quick little rundown on what happened with you?
Yeah, the RCRL was back in action on Monday night in the Pro Cup Series at Dover, which, have I ever mentioned that's one of my favorite tracks?
You have.
Because if I haven't, it is. I really like racing there. Now, this race, and I also did a stream of it, so for those of you that want to go watch it, you can, to get the full experience, because obviously I'm going to do a condensed version here. But let's see, I think I started in 11th, and we had a caution right away because somebody spun their tires, which is extremely easy to do at Dover as well. And I don't know, though, that they took anybody out. I think they just spun out and the caution came out. So we got a restart on lap 5, and this time I was on the outside. I was in 10th, I think. And I got a good restart, started going, and then I saw it on my triple screens, but obviously on the stream you'll only see it at the last second. But I saw it coming all the way, but there's nothing that I could do. The guy that restarted in 9th spun his tires and went from, here we are driving side by side, down the straightaway, to directly coming in front of me because he was spinning out, and I was like, oh boy, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. And I pretty much had nowhere to go. And I hit him head on, but I hit him in such a way that it didn't knock the toe out. It didn't damage my car. I mean, it probably did the little front bumper or something, but my car was fine, and I didn't wreck or anything else after that. But I got the black magic smoke coming out of the car. So I was like, oh boy, lap 5, and somebody spun their tires, and now I've got a blown motor essentially, and my race is over with. So I did an interesting thing, and this is a debate that Trevor and I are going to have one day on this show about if you get in a wreck in a league race or even an official race, if the car's fixable, do you stay in the race and try to salvage, any positions you can get and get a good, somewhat decent finish and get points, or do you quit? And that's something that we had a discussion about one night in a Talladega race that one day we'll go into more detail about. But in this particular race, I had that decision because I had black smoke coming out of my car, but my car was perfectly fine. The engine was the part that was messed up. So I was like...
The car was fine, but the part that make the car go fast, then not so good.
Yeah, not so good. But so I drove down pit road. The thing I always do is check how much time optional and required is. And if it's like super big number, then normally I quit. But this one was only 30 seconds of required, which shocked me, and then like right at 2 minutes of optional. So I was just like, well, I'm just going to sit here and fix it. So I literally got the entire car fixed and all the time fixed under that caution and lost 2 laps. So went back out on the track, and I was like, okay, well, we'll see how the engine goes. And at first it sounded weak, but then once we actually got into the green, it actually sounded pretty good, and it shocked me. Like I was thinking, okay, the oil temperature is going to go through the roof, the water temperature is going to go, the thing's going to quit, halfway through the race, and it's just not going to work. But I let's see, we had a couple more cautions, and I got one of my laps back through the lucky dog. So then I was one lap down. Then we had another caution, and then I got back on the lead lap. And during the time that I was a couple laps down, I was actually passing cars and moving up, from what would have been 20th to like 10th. Like at one point, I had driven up to 8th place, even though I was 2 laps down and in like 19th. And so I was like, okay, my car is still perfectly fine here. If I can just get back on the lead lap, we'll be okay. Well, finally did. I think it took me about 75 laps to get back on the lead lap. And it was a 200 lap race. And we got through that might have been one of the last cautions until later on, the one where I got back on the lead lap that we had. And then we went on some long green flag runs, which I was kind of glad about. And I worked my way up from what was dead last at the time, which was 20th, all the way up to 4th or 5th when we did green flag pit stops. And got through that and then came back out, and I was in like 3rd now, or 4th. I was in 4th. And then we went a long ways until a caution happened with maybe 20 to 25 to go. Which I didn't really want to see. I was kind of just ready for the race to be over with, and get out of there with a 4th place, and a nice recovery. And then the last 20 laps of that race, I drove that car really hard, and you can see it in the stream. I mean, my lap times were way better the last 20 laps of that race than at any other point in that race. And part of the reason why is because I had a bad restart and went from 4th to 5th. And so I was trying to get back to 4th, and which ended up being easy because the guy in 4th kind of spun out without spinning out. So I ended up getting back into 4th and didn't have enough time. The laps went out. I do think I might have caught him if we had more time, but checker flag came out, so I ended up with a 4th place finish, which, all things considering, I was really happy with, because I went from, okay, my race is fine, to lap 5, I've got a blown motor, to now I'm 2 laps down, my motor's fixed, to now I'm 1 lap down, to now I'm on the lead lap, to now I'm in 4th, to now, hey, I finished 4th. All in 200 laps. So that was pretty fun.
So yeah, and that, like you said, that kind of goes to that whole concept of do you give up in a league race type thing? And like I said, we can discuss that at length later on. But that's one of those things where your gut probably said, you know what, we're done. Let's just get out of here and move on with my evening. But you stuck it out and ended up with a pretty good finish, and had to work pretty hard for it, but
Yeah.
ended up with a good finish out of the deal. So
it was worth it, and it helped me in the points, and that's something I've been needing, because so far I've had some bad races in that series, so I need good races. And now the last 3 weeks, Kansas was a 3rd, Charlotte was a 6th, and now 4th at Dover. Those 3 races right there really shot me up the points, so I'm getting closer to being able to compete for a chase spot. So I'm pretty sure it's top 12 getting the chase, and right now I'm 17th in points after those 3 runs. So I'm climbing back up the ladder, even with a few DNFs and some pretty dismal finishes of like 30th or worse. So next week we go to Pocono, which I enjoy, but I'm not always the fastest at. So we'll see how that goes.
yeah, I've always enjoyed Pocono myself. Again, not being the fastest, but just something about that track just always excites and terrifies me, because
Yeah.
it's great because it has those big long straight stretches, and turn 1's pretty fun, and turn 3 can be pretty fun, but turn 2 always terrifies me if there's any car that I can even see anywhere. Like if they're close enough to me that I can see them, then I'm scared to death to go through that corner.
See, I love turn 2. It's really not all that difficult of a turn on iRacing, which figures. But tomorrow night I might race at Dover again in the IRL, because I think I fixed some of my streaming issues and my frames, and I love Dover anyways. So if you're not doing any, I'm not talking to you specifically, Trevor, but to people out there, if you're not doing anything tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern time, I will likely, not going to guarantee it, but I will likely have a stream of my B car race at Dover. Um, because I'm anxious to try the things that I changed to make sure that I streamed for like 2 hours last night, absolutely nothing of importance, and it was private. But it seemed to work last night, and and I love Dover, and so if all lines up, then I'm going to race tomorrow because I love that track.
Yeah, and typically I'll be racing because that's the IRL that I race on the Fridays. Not sure if I'm going to be racing tomorrow night just because with everything else going on, I haven't had a chance to practice to get ready for it. And then I'm off on a plane again on the weekend, so I'll probably be doing tough stuff with the family and whatnot. Or, maybe if I have the time, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll stream Chad's race as well through a different perspective and commentate on it. I don't know. Maybe I'll just jump in and spot for him. Something. I don't know. But definitely check out Chad's channel because he's more likely to have something for you to watch than me.
Yeah.
uh, as far as my experiences, mine were mostly related to the Indy 500, the SRF, obviously, and then last night I actually jumped into a Carb Cup race after the SRF, and wow, if you want to have a feeling that of how much power the Cup car has, then go from the SRF and then jump right into that Cup car. Like I almost spun it out getting off pit road because it's like I'm going in the SRF and it's like it's not a very fast car. It's a it's a beginner level Cup car. And then all of a sudden, whoa, okay, what's going on here? And so anyway, I had some fun there and ended up actually going into leading the race, like racing my way into the lead of that race after starting fourth or fifth, something like that. I think it's fifth they started.
Fifth, yeah.
And then ended up racing my way into the lead and then didn't spin myself out, but ended up, by race myself into the lead, I mean I hung with the lead pack and then watched as they all wrecked in front of me and the seas parted and I sailed through the middle of it into the lead.
You don't have to say that. You could just say you passed them.
I wasn't streaming.
Technically, you did.
Well, I passed them all. I passed them all in quick succession. And then
so fast. You got to know how to say this, Trevor. You got to know how to sell it.
Well, it was faster than them because they were going sideways.
No, but you're not supposed to say that.
But then ended up getting loose coming off of 4. And didn't spin out. I caught the car, but by the time I caught the car, I was pointed straight down pit road, so I cruised down pit road at 120 miles an hour. And I was watching the penalty time up in the corner because it started off. It's like, here's your penalty time, and then I watched as the seconds went tick 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 tick. As if say, okay, now slow down. It's like, well, I already got a penalty. It's like, oh no, you're adding to the penalty as I speed down here. And then so I ended
You
up.
want to be here for 40 seconds? How about 45? How about 50? Going once, going twice.
I could do this all night, man.
How about 3 hours?
So I ended up not hitting anything and not spinning out, and ended up finishing 6th, I think, in the race. Even though I lost a few laps while sitting on pit road and having the NASCAR official just shake his head at me.
I just got this image of you like almost wrecking, then flying down pit road, then getting this, this counter in your top left corner that just keeps going ding 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 ding, up in number.
Basically, and then actually I sped a little bit when I came in to serve the penalty as well, so that was added on a few more seconds as well in addition to it. So, but that was pretty fun actually. It was. It's Charlotte as opposed to the the Carb Cup at Daytona or Talladega, but like Chad mentions, like, what are you going to worry about? Just jump in this. You don't even use the brakes anymore. It's like, well, that's realistic. Yeah. It's like,
yep.
And unfortunately, if I had set up the car, it wasn't fixed, then I would have tightened it up a little bit on exit because I kept losing it coming out of 2 and especially coming out of 4. But that was fun, and ended up pulling a jerk pass move on somebody. I think I kind of door slammed them out of the way as I passed them. It wasn't my intention, but they left the door open. I stuck my nose in, got a little wide coming out of the corner and just kind of slammed him. I'm sure he was all like, "I gave you the room. What? You didn't have to be a jerk about it." It's like, I'm waving out the back of my car. Sorry, it was a mistake. It's not my
It's
fault. I didn't
okay. I'm
take.
Trevor from iRacing today.
It's okay. I'm from the internet. Just get out of my way, please.
From the internet. That's great. You should put that on the back of your car. It's okay. I'm from the internet.
I like that.
Yeah. I did a carb cup race and probably made a lot of people mad too because I went 3 wide about 400 times because I started last like every time because I didn't qualify, and I just did a 300-mile race there, so I like knew all about the fixed setup at Charlotte. So I was just like, woo, 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 excuse me, pardon me, coming through, excuse me, pardon me, thank you. And yeah, that was fun. It was entertaining. Carburetor Cup is entertaining.
It can be, we've talked about it in the past, and I won't belabor this point, but I mean, the Carb Cup is kind of meant to be your stress-free zone of, you know what, there's no SR on the line, there's no IR on the line, it's a quick pickup race, if you mess up, whatever, I mean, just come in, jump in. It's your little,
Have fun.
15-minute race thing, just to go have some fun type thing.
Everybody takes it so seriously.
I know, and then you were talking about you had a Carb Cup race there, and like the one before this, the one that we both did at the same time, different rooms. And there was the guy who ended up he was leading and he got wrecked, and that's frustrating. But it's a Carb Cup race; it's not that big of a deal. But apparently, this guy thought this was the
end of the world.
600, like he was. Or the All-Star race, and he was racing for $1 million because, man, did he have a time.
Yeah. I'm not going to wreck him for the win.
But moving forward, I'm figuring out a plan to do some more road racing so that I can speak more intelligently on the road courses and whatnot. And maybe some different ideas on how to handle that with streaming and stuff. Don't have any details yet, just kind of brainstorming right now. So hopefully I'll have some more details on that moving forward. Haven't decided on the car yet, haven't decided on anything quite yet. And speaking of interactive parts of the show, a friend of the show that we mentioned a bunch of times, Scott Feldhausen, is obviously listening to the stream because he just tweeted, "It's okay, I'm from the internet." Boom, confetti. I need that on the back of my car.
Yep.
Chad, make it happen.
Okay, give me back your paint scheme because I don't think I have it.
So, anyway, long show, quick little rookie tip. At least I hope it's a quick rookie tip of the week to send us off into the evening. Oh, come on.
It's not. I can make up a quick rookie tip.
Why don't we do that? Because, man, like we've been going for almost 2 hours here, and that's,
Yep. We'll get into the we'll get into the rookie tip that I want to do next week because it is more important.
Okay.
So let's see, make up rookie tip.
I thought when you said that, I thought that you had something.
I didn't have a backup plan.
Oh, okay.
We're making this up. No, rookie tip of the week is actually going to go back to the Carb Cup race. Don't take this so seriously.
That is a good tip of the week and very appropriate. You know what? We've talked about taking things seriously and taking this as a hobby in the past, but of all things, take the Carb Cup as a fun time.
I mean, wow, the stuff that I heard, and I did 3 Carb Cup races last night. Let's see, one of which I got completely destroyed out of. Literally flew into the catch bench and landed there and stuck the landing.
You showed me a video of that because it was during your 2 hours of streaming nonsense as you were testing there, and it's like, and I got to see it from your point of view, and it's like, okay, yep, crazy, and then you showed it from the exterior replay view, and it was like you just, man, you got air, and
Yep.
then it's like your front bumper just caught in the catch fence, and it's like stung, just stuck there.
Yeah, so basically, I was looking down at the yellow wall from on top of it. So yeah, I was definitely in the catch fence. Now, as annoying as that was, because the guy that wrecked me did it on purpose, because he pulled out on the track, I did not get angry. I did not scream. I was in third place too. I had just gotten there and was faster than the leaders, but I did not scream. I did not yell.
Yeah.
But in the 3 Carb Cup races last night, I heard some people who were like, "Oh, this is just Carb Cup. It doesn't matter." Then I heard other people like, "You effing bleep, 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 bleep. I'm protesting you," and I'm like, "You're protesting him in a carburetor cup race." Okay.
Yeah.
So
Good luck to you, sir.
yes, have fun with that one. Let me know how that works out for you. But yes, it doesn't just apply in Carb Cup races. I mean, that applies with other races, although I'm a little bit more lenient in other races than I am Carb Cup. Carb Cup, I have nothing. There's no reason at all to be mad.
No.
At all.
Yeah, I mean, the occasional frustration, because I mean, a win's a win. I was frustrated when I spun myself out from the lead, in that one.
I was
But
pretty frustrated with you when you wrecked me at Talladega after you told me that you could restart in first gear, and then you restarted in first gear and wrecked me.
that wasn't a Carb Cup race. That was different. That was
That
real,
doesn't
man.
matter. That doesn't matter. I was still pretty frustrated. But yes, this does not just apply to rookies also. This applies to every soul on iRacing, including the staff members.
Chill the bleep out.
Tony Gardner. Next time I see you get wrecked, Tony Gardner, you better not be yelling. Not that he does that, because I've never actually raced with him. Actually, I take it back. I have. I was in
really?
practice with him one night at Daytona after one of the new build launched. That was probably about a year and a half ago. He was in there just practicing at Daytona, and I think it was some kind of a road car, and I happened to be in there. It was pretty cool. He was talking to a lot of the people. He's a pretty nice guy. I mean, he was out there racing, and he started talking to everybody, They were like, "Hey, so what's going on? What's the latest on such and such?" And he answered them, the best that he could. It was pretty cool.
Right on.
Yeah. Now let's quit.
So I warned everybody on Twitter beforehand that we had a jam-packed show. We had a lot to talk about this week. Hopefully, despite the length, hopefully it was entertaining and provided, just added something to your week. That's all we can ever hope for. But that will about do it for this week. A big thanks to all of you out there for listening. As always, remember the show is available for download on iTunes and Zune under their respective podcast sections. And we'd really appreciate it if you head over to iTunes, if that's the way that you consume the show, and leave us a review to help us get the word out. Also, posting in our official forum that we update everybody on when the show goes, any show news happens on the iRacing forums. If you go over there and give us some feedback there to help keep that as active as it already is, and interact with us, that's great. We have a lot of fun doing back and forth on there as well, and it helps get the word out. The show is also available for watching and live or on the archives.
You just cannot read a script tonight, can you?
I don't want to. I'm an improviser. I'm not a script writer. Anybody, when I first did the show, quick aside, I promise. When I first did the podcast, the first bunch of episodes were completely and totally scripted. I'm a very good cold reader where I can make things that are word for word on a screen or a piece of paper, whatever, and sound natural and conversational. So I went that way, and they were completely scripted. Then I went to a more improvised fashion, and I prefer that. So I can't help myself. I have words in front of me. I could be reading them. I'd rather have fun with them. Because besides, who wants to hear the same thing over, the same outro every single week? Not me. Not that I'm listening, I'm talking. But anyway, you get the idea. But it is available to watch on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, which is Ratface Productions with 2 T's. And, of course, it's also mirrored over on Chad's YouTube channel, which is White Knight Productions. So if you wish to consume the show that way.
Speaking of White Knight Productions, here's improvising.
Okay.
White Knight Productions. I have a surprise coming for that, but I can't tell anyone yet because I haven't gotten it yet.
Well, that was a letdown. Speaking of that, I got some news.
But
There's
look
news.
for my Twitter or look for, probably won't be if I stream tomorrow, but the next stream after that, which will probably be Monday night Pocono. So either Pocono Monday night or Twitter.
Okay. So watch for that. And I'll probably retweet it. I have more Twitter followers than Chad does anyway, so I'll make sure I get the links.
But I have now more subscribers on YouTube than you do.
I don't know how that's possible.
Yep, it's possible. I'm just better.
Fine. I'm going to get some more content on there, let me tell you. Some more diversified content. But for your non-diversified combat? Wow. I don't want. I mean, who wants diversity in their combat? I mean, point gun, bang bang. You don't want to mess with that formula. And if video games have taught me anything, then just make sure you look for the battlefield with the most waist-high walls you can hide behind.
Yep.
But you can check out the website for information, archives, links, and the polls we mentioned on the show over at iRacingTodayRadio.com. You can follow show news through Facebook at facebook.com/iRacingTodayRadio. And, of course, our ever-active Twitter accounts, iRacing Today for myself, and It's Chadillac for Mr. Chad.
And speaking of that Facebook page, one more like, and we've got 100.
Which
Looking
is
at
pretty cool.
whoever you are, that's going to do
If
that.
you haven't liked our Facebook page, go do it. By the end of the night, we're going to be like 105, 106. Everybody's watching and be like, I'm going to be number 100.
Yep.
And, that's okay. You can all be number 100. We love you all.
You're number 100 in our hearts. Please email any questions, comments, and poll suggestions that you may have to feedback@iRacingTodayRadio.com, and especially the poll suggestion part, because we got a new one coming up here soon, and we don't know what we're doing yet.
News to me. So give us a suggestion, because Chad hasn't out yet.
We're freaking out. Anyways, and of course, feel free to add myself and Trevor as friends on the iRacing.com members website, and we do appreciate all of you that have done so already.
Yes.
But until next week, ladies and gentlemen, remember that the race is very so littly often won in the first turn.
But it is often lost there. Good night, everybody.